Hey folks, I'm back for another video where I'm going to talk a little bit more about parts tuning. And in this video, I want to talk about the chassis part and kind of give you an overview of how the different chassis parts affect the bike. Um, because it's hard to relay everything that it does with the current UI. As I've mentioned in previous videos, we are working on a better UI for the parts tuning system in general to be able to convey more information about what the parts do. But in the meantime, I wanted to make some videos to kind of answer some questions that are out there. So let's get started. Let's see, what do I have equipped right now? This is a 450. Okay, I'm gonna remove, sorry about that. I'm gonna remove the suspensions, going back to the stock bike. I'm going to do half a lap of the stock bike and kind of get a feel for it. So as I'm doing that, I will talk about the chassis a little bit. Basically, a more flexible chassis will make the bike feel more maneuverable, easier to turn, easier to what was I gonna say? Easier to control in the air. It'll give you more control over the bike in the air. What it's also going to do is make scrubbing a lot easier. So basically, the flexible chassis will make scrubbing easier, also give you more scrubbing power, because you'll be able to throw the bike like down before the jump, like on the face more, right? And by rolling the bike more, you'll be able to slide more, and by sliding more, your scrubbing trajectory is going to change and stay lower. So the flexible chassis will also make it easier to turn than the rigid chassis. But it has some downsides, of course. It will make it easier to rake as well, because the bike won't be as stable. Where with the rigid chassis, the bike is more stable and is harder to rake, basically. So now that I've done like a lap or two, I'm going to equip the flexible chassis and show you the difference in scrubbing power. So let's go equip it. So this is the level 3 flexible chassis. So let's do a lap on that and see how it feels. I can already feel like how much more flexible the bike is, even though this is a 450. So let's try some scrubbing. Yeah, there you go. That was a pretty good scrub. You can really feel it when you get a good scrub going. And there we go, another good one. As you can see, I'm really leaning the bike over on the face of the jump a lot. Oh, by the way, I'm playing with Pro Physics enabled. It doesn't really make a difference for this, because what Pro Physics do really is they turn off all the airborne helpers, but the airborne helpers are only enabled when you let go of the sticks, or when you don't use the stick as much, basically. The more you use the sticks in the air, the less the airborne helpers kick in. It's when you let go of the stick that they really help center the bike and rotate the bike and enroll the bike so that it lands properly. So for this specific scenario, it doesn't really matter whether I'm in Pro Physics or not. So as you can see with the flexible chassis, I can really, well, that was a bad example right there, but as you saw on the previous lap, I got some pretty good scrubs going on. I'm able to turn the bike pretty sharply. It feels pretty maneuverable. But I also don't have as much preload and seat bounce power with the flexible chassis. You get more preload and seat bounce with the rigid chassis. Let's do one more big scrub. It's probably a little too hard. Okay, so now let's go switch to the rigid chassis. So the rigid chassis will make the bike feel a lot more rigid, hence the name. So it won't be as maneuverable. You won't get as much scrubbing ability. It's going to be harder to turn, but it's more stable, which means it's harder to wreck, and it also has more preload and seat bounce power. So let's do a few laps with that. I can already feel how heavy the bike feels with this. That's definitely a lot harder to turn. But I'm also able to kind of keep my momentum a little more because I'm not turning as sharp, not losing as much momentum. So it's kind of forcing me to keep more momentum. Not that you can't do it with the flexible chassis, you definitely can. But I guess the rigid chassis makes it a little easier because you don't really have the choice. The bike feels heavier, doesn't turn as well. So you kind of have to keep your momentum more by default, right? And also scrubbing isn't as strong. So let me focus this lap on doing a few scrubs to demonstrate that. So I'm gonna try to scrub the upcoming triple. As you can see, I wasn't able to scrub as hard as with the flexible chassis. The bike rotation was slower, I didn't stay as low, so it definitely makes your scrubbing harder. Another thing, I know I said I would only talk about the chassis here, but something that also makes scrubbing, that makes a pretty big difference with scrubbing is the tires. With slippery tires, you're going to be able to scrub more, even if you have a rigid chassis equipped, because you're going to slide more on the face of the jump. So let me try to demonstrate that. So the bike still feels sluggish, right? It doesn't feel as flexible, it feels heavy, it doesn't scrub as hard on the face of the jump, but I'm sliding more. Because of the slippery tires. So since I'm sliding more, even though the bike isn't as flexible, I don't go as high because my launch angle trajectory is lower because I'm sliding more on the face of the jump, right? So it's something to keep in mind. You can definitely combine different parts to suit your playing style better. If you don't like the bike to be too flexible, but you still want to be able to scrub, then maybe having the rigid chassis and the slippery tires is good for you. I'm gonna equip the sticky tires to show you how much worse scrubbing is when you have both the rigid chassis and sticky tires. So yes, you do have a lot of traction. Yes, you do have more stability. It's easy. It's harder to wreck, but you also can't scrub as well. Far from it. You do get more preload though, and seat bounce power. So if you're the kind of player that likes to preload and seat bounce everything, then this might be your setup. You see, I can still scrub, but it's very, very weak and slow. So I feel like a setup like this is maybe more suited for maybe like outdoor tracks that don't have many jumps and that have a lot of long sweeping corners, right? But a supercross track or even an outdoor track that has tight turns and lots of jumps, this might not be the best setup because you can't turn as sharp, you can't scrub as well. So now I'm going to go the extreme, the other way, to show you really how big the difference can be. Flexible chassis and slippery tires. This is going to give me the best scrubbing. Well, I could also equip stiff suspensions to get even better scrubbing. But really, these two right there, the flexible chassis and slippery tires, are the two parts that will affect scrubbing the most out of all of the other parts. So let's try to throw a few good scrubs here without breaking. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. You see our lowest rate on this one? So this is a really good setup if you like to scrub everything. Now, if you scrub everything, it means you're probably pretty good at the game, because usually the faster you get at the game, the more you start scrubbing everything, because if you don't, then you overjump stuff everywhere, right and left. So really, the preloading and seat bouncing is it's really for almost more of like I wouldn't say like a beginner's move, but if you're really good at the game and you're really fast, you probably won't be seat bouncing or preloading a lot, because you're gonna have enough momentum to clear pretty much anything. So you're gonna be scrubbing a lot more. So again, it really depends on your skill level and your play style, which parts you equip. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope it answered a few questions, and I hope that you're less confused now than before, not more confused. That's not the point of the video. I don't want to confuse you more. So if you have any questions, post them in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, have fun, everyone.